All right, guys. So today I'm going to show you how you can convert something that sounds like this.
Girl, I'm into you. I hear there's a perfect place in heaven. It's made for me and you. Let's break the rules.
To this.
Girl, I'm into you. I hear there's a perfect place in heaven. It's made for me and you. Let's break the rules. I hear them angels play a beautiful love song. It never fades away. A love song only.
So yes, this is the video you've all been waiting for. I'm going to show you how to master a song. But I need to say a couple of things before I start. So firstly, the mastering process is supposed to be a separate process. And, sometimes people go to mastering engineers to master for them. But in today's world, things are really changing. People do everything themselves. And you have a lot of songs on the charts that were done by people who did like everything from making the beat to recording to mixing to mastering. For me, mastering is usually done as part of the mixing process. But at the end, when I'm satisfied with the mix, and I use hardware, I use analog for my mastering. So my normal chain for mastering is I send the stems like kick, bass, drums, other drums, lead vocal, backing vocal. I send everything to my Orion Studio audio interface. From Orion Studio, it's going down to my Mix Dream SPL Mix Dream, which is a summing mixer. It sums all the stems together in an analog way. And then it sends to my Avalon 747 compressor EQ, which is just a fantastic. Sometimes I don't even use the compressor. The EQ is out of this world. And then, it has that tube sound. It changes it. It really makes it sound fat, full. And then from my Avalon, it's going to my preamp, which is kind of interesting because the preamp, the Focusrite is a 2 preamp. I bought it for recording, but I tend to use it more for mastering because it has the Lundal transformers, which are really awesome. Just pass your sound through it. And there's something it does to the low end that I can't explain. Like the low end just becomes fat, thick. You can't replicate. I can't replicate it with the plugins. Maybe some people can. And then from there back to my Orion Studio and then back into the computer. And I just print my mix after doing maybe some final reference checks and tweaks and all that. So that's my mastering chain. But I know that not everybody can afford to buy hardware. I'm even planning to upgrade my chain. I'm planning to buy Rupert Neve Designs Portico 2 Master Bus processor, which is like $4,000. It's crazy expensive. I'm really just, planning to buy it, So I know not everybody can afford this. So that's why I'm trying to show you how you can use plugins to achieve the same thing. It might not be exactly the same thing, but to be as close as possible. The other thing to say is that, you must work with a reference, and I'm going to show you how to work with a reference so that you know that you're actually approaching commercial quality. The last thing to say about mastering is that mastering, when you master for different media, the process is slightly different. So for instance, if you're aiming for Spotify, Tidal, YouTube, Apple Music, it's kind of different. You don't go for a super loud, super compressed. Like if you listen to this master I played for you, it's something like, it's like minus 7 dB lofts. It's like super loud. But, if I were to master this for streaming, I would go much, much easier. On the final volume, so that it doesn't sound too squished and compressed when you upload it to those streaming services. So that's how I want to introduce. But let's jump right into it. So this song from A Plus is called Heaven's Bed from his recent EP, which is coming out soon. I hope you can stream it. It's a really nice song. Let me just play a little bit of it.
Wild and young, stupid and free, deep in love. Me and my baby, one love movie still in the making. We bought a one-way ticket for leaving town. We're hitting the road, trading places from Las Giddy to North USA. Oh girl, I'm into you.
So yeah, it's a different vibe. You know, it's not really Afrobeat. It's kind of like I don't know. It's like pop. The name of the EP is Wild and Young. It's out December 2020. So once it's out, please stream. A Plus is my guy. I've known him for many years. I've produced all his. I produced every single song on that EP. It's an 8-song EP. I produced and engineered everything. So the mistakes are mine and the good parts are mine too. So the first thing you want to do is, load up the song. Sometimes I like to set the tempo. Not that I'll use a delay in mastering, but just set the right tempo before I drag the song in. And we now go to the master. So what I do with mastering is I work very fast. The slower you work, the more confused you become. So you need to work very, very fast. Okay. So the first thing I'll do is I'll load a meter. So let's load levels, which is like my favorite metering plugin because it's just so awesome. I change the setting to mastering for CD or club, anyone, because you're going for a really loud master. Then the other thing you want to load up, which is very critical, is a reference plugin. So I'm going to reference using Metric AB. I'm going to load in for this song. I already have a reference in mind. It's a super well mixed song. It's called, so I got these songs from Apple Music. I subscribe to Apple Music. So YouTube, please don't give me any copyright infringement nonsense, okay? Because I actually pay for these songs. So there's a song called Mr. Lover from Mr. Loverman from Mikasa. I think he's like, or they are like a South African group. I'm not too sure. Don't crucify me. But this song is just super well mixed, okay? And you listen to it. So I change the settings to sync so that it syncs with my song. Then I also go to the loudness and I change it to dual so I can compare, the integrated loops, short time, momentary, loudness, range, everything I can compare easily. In terms of loudness, I'm going for really loud master, like -6 lofts is like, super crushed. Well, it's not crushed, but really, really loud master, just for the sake of this video, because you guys are always asking like, how do I sound like those commercial songs? Man, dude, songs are no longer mixed like crazy loud anymore because they are going on streaming platforms, and these platforms, they have the technology to upgrade your sound, okay, to the commercial volume. So it's better to make it a little bit lower and clean than super loud and dirty. But it is what it is, okay? So this is what the reference sounds like. So clearly you can see there are already differences, but my mix is not bad because, I referenced this song when I mixed and, it's kind of close. But you can already see the integrated lofts. This song is at like -8, mine is at -12. So we have like a lot of loudness to do. It's crossing, my peaks are like, crossing the 0 dB line. My lofts is still low. So, we're going to quickly master this and then you'll see how we can approach this. So I normally use 3 EQs to start my mastering process. The first EQ is just to clean up, and I use the fruity, a very basic fruity parametric EQ, just to. Sorry, I didn't change back to my song. Yep. So the first thing I want to do is take out the extremely low end because I can already feel like the subs are like all over the place. So I'll just do something like this.
There's a perfect place in heaven.
Usually between 35, 40, it depends. If the song is too boomy, I go for like 40 hertz, but usually 30, 35 is good. You can take out all that low end rumble. Then also the high end. A lot of people don't know this, but you need to also low pass your song because it's like too itchy, scratchy in the ear. You want to have that smooth round sound. You will have to take out some high end as well.
There's a perfect place in heaven. It's made for me and you. Let's break the rules.
Yeah, somewhere around 15. 15K sounds like a lot, but we're going to bring bring the air back in. So the other thing you want to, I've already noticed, just comparing with the reference, listen very well, you can see that there's something about our high mids that is a little bit harsh compared to the reference. And so what we want to do with the reference is we want to match the volume so that we can compare well.
Mr. Loverman, yeah. He is a Mr. Loverman. He's a weakness.
You see, it automatically deducted about 4 dB from the reference so that we can easily compare now.
Mr. Lover, I hear there's a.
So you see, ours is sounding a little bit dull, but the high mids are a little bit harsh. So I'm gonna go and just select an EQ here, band here, and just bring it somewhere around 5K, and then we listen, we adjust.
Is a Mr. I hear there's a perfect place in heaven. It's made for me and you. Let's break the rules. I hear them angels play a beautiful love song. It never fades away. A love song only.
So in mastering, you have to make very little moves. So what I've done is just take out 1 dB from there. Let's check again. I think there's still some muddiness in the lower mids.
Is a Mr. I hear there's a perfect. It's made for me.
So there's a muffly, muddy sound somewhere, around, I don't know, 200 to 300. Let's listen.
I hear there's a perfect place in heaven. It's made for me and you.
That's it. So let's turn it down.
I hear there's a perfect place in heaven. It's made for me and you. Let's break the rules. I hear them angels play.
So like I said, mastering, you make very small moves. Now let's compare with this EQ and without the EQ.
I hear there's a perfect place in heaven. It's made for me and you. Let's break the rules.
So the moment I bring in the EQ, you can hear that there's a lot of clarity, that comes into the sound. So the next EQ I want to bring in is a mid-side EQ. Usually the Fab Filter Pro Q2 is adequate for this job. All I need to do is switch it to mid-side mode. And then what we want to do is take out the low end of the sides and open up the sides a little bit. This is another way of widening instead of just using a widener. So let's see.
I hear there's a perfect place in heaven. It's made for me and you. Let's break the rules. I hear them angels play.
So you see, I'm messing with the low end of the sides, okay? Just the sides. It doesn't affect the mid.
I hear there's a perfect place in heaven. It's made for me and you. Let's break the rules.
So it just makes it cleaner, okay? So that most of your low end is coming from the mids. And then we open up the highs of the sides just a little.
I hear there's a perfect place in heaven. It's made for me and you. Let's break the rules. I hear them angels play a beautiful.
So let's turn off the 2 plugins so far.
I hear there's a perfect place in heaven.
With it.
I hear there's a perfect place in heaven.
So very little change, but very important changes. So now I'm bringing in an EQ. The final EQ is the EQ I use to actually craft or design the sound. In this case, I'll use the Air EQ Premium from EOSys, one of the best EQ plugins I've ever used. It's just super. I come here, I go to mastering, I go to balance. So first thing we want to do here is open up the highs, because if you listen to the reference, you see their highs are better. The difference is very clear. So okay, so we're going to open up the highs now.
I hear there's a perfect place in heaven. It's made for me and you. Let's break the rules. I hear them angels play a beautiful love song. It never fades away. A love song only. Baby, on this bed we distraction, my motivation, my life without.
He loves a good
Oh girl, I wanna get
wine and sip.
two of you. Oh girl, your melody is the ringing in my head.
He's fun
To sing with you,
them diamond.
to you.
Okay, good. So I've opened up the highs. I still feel like we need a little bit of clarity. Okay, so I'm gonna turn this on.
Is a Mr.
I hear there's a perfect place in heaven. It's made for me and you. Let's break the rules.
Like I said, in mastering, you're making little moves. Here, I made about 2 dB because I really wanted the highs open. But for clarity, I'm just doing like 1 dB.
I hear there's a perfect place in heaven.
Is a Mr. This is beautiful.
I hear them.
Yeah.
Beautiful love song, it never fails.
God love
A love song. On this bed.
So when you compare, you switch them very fast. That's the trick to really know if you are approaching. We might revisit this EQ, but let's move quickly. The next thing, one thing you'll notice about the reference is that it's more alive, it's more excited. So we're going to use not an exciter, but a saturator. So in this case, I'm going to use the Fab Filter Saturn 2. Just by putting it on, it already makes a difference. Listen.
I hear there's a perfect place in heaven. It's made for me and you. Let's break the rules.
So sometimes all I do is just put it on and change, the particular sound of saturation I'm going for without even tweaking any other thing. All right, it makes a difference. But what I notice now is that the air we added is now a little bit too much because of this. So we have to go back.
I hear there's a perfect place in heaven. It's made for me and you. Let's break the rules. I hear them angels play a beautiful love song. It never fades away. A love song only. Baby, on this bed we're superhuman. So love song only. I hear them angels play a beautiful love song. It never fades away. You and me was distraction, my motivation. My life without you is an empty station. Oh girl, I wanna get my first tattoo of you.
Like I said, mastering, you go for very, very subtle moves. So I just did a little bit.
Mr. Lover.
I hear there's a it's made for me and you. Let's break the rules. I hear them angels play a beautiful love song. It's the only thing that is ringing.
Then money.
And I want to sing.
Wins them
Oh girl, I'm in
again. He
So we need a little bit of widening. So that's the next move. So what I do is there are several ways to widen, but I use spread. Spread is just awesome because I can leave the low end untouched. This is the low end here. You have low, mid, and high. So low end, no touching. And the boundary is 500. Maybe I move it down a little bit to like, I don't want to, anything below like 250. I don't want it widened. But I don't mind widening anything above that. So let's increase, let's widen a little bit, just a little bit.
He's got that
my
money.
head. And I want to sing with you. Oh girl, I'm into you. I hear there's a perfect place in heaven. It's made for me and you. Let's break the rules. I hear them angels play.
So let me explain something. When you do this widening, you keep checking in mono. I already know this plugin is super because even when you're in mono, it doesn't change. So let's listen in mono and turn the plugin on and off if there's any difference.
Your melody is the
So I've turned it to mono here. This is what I did here.
Your melody is the only thing that is ringing in my head. And I want to sing with you.
Actually, there's no major difference. So it means that this plugin is completely mono compatible. It doesn't add some fissiness or spoil your sound. So if you listen now, let's listen to without the plugin.
Your melody is the only thing that is ringing in my head, and I want to sing with you. Oh girl, I'm into you.
So let's listen with it.
Your melody is the only thing that is ringing in my head, and I want to sing with you. Oh girl, I'm into you.
Yes, I miss the love.
Place in heaven,
Yeah.
me and you. Let's break the rules.
Weakness is beauty.
Play a beautiful love song.
You see, we're very close to the reference. The aim is not to be like the reference exactly. So it's fine if there's still a difference, if the reference has some elements. Sometimes the arrangement in the reference is better, professional instrument players. So don't worry about that. But the most important thing is, if your song is played after the reference, will there be a major difference? And you are aiming for a no. All right. So now we're really getting there, and I really like what we have done so far. But one challenge I have is the gain staging. So we did not really what's the word now? I didn't do the mix the way I normally do mixes. I normally have my mixes with picking at something like -3, -6, -3. But this one is picking at 0, even beyond 0. So I'm just going to bring in a gain plugin, and I'm just going to turn it down by 3 dB. So that we'll have just a little bit of headroom, before the plugins come.
Your melody is the only thing that is ringing in my head, and I want to sing with you. Oh girl, I'm into you.
So yeah, that sounds better. So I'm gonna now bring in a clipper. Normally I use a compressor as well, a multi-band compressor, but not all the time. Sometimes you listen to a song and you feel like, okay, this song already sounds very compressed. Like I don't want to spoil or change the sound. So I'm gonna go for a clipper, and the T-Rex clipper is like, very old, but it does the job very well. So let's try to use this clipper and see to get the volume we're looking for. We're not going to use a limiter to get that volume.
Your melody is the only thing that is ringing in my head, and I want to sing with you. Oh girl, I'm into you. I hear there's a perfect place in heaven. It's made for me and you. Let's break the rules. I hear them angels play a beautiful.
So at this point, I'm going to check the levels. Let's see.
Your melody is the only thing that is ringing in my head, and I want to sing with you. Oh girl, I'm into you. I hear there's a perfect place in heaven. It's made for me and you. Let's break the rules. I hear them angels play a beautiful love song. It never fades.
So we are around -9. Let's compare with our reference now and see. Well, these plugins are coming in as detached. So let's now take the gain of the reference back to 0.
Your melody is the only thing that is ringing in my head.
He's fun.
To sing with you.
I'm
I'm into you. I hear there's a perfect place in heaven.
yeah.
You.
Mr. Lover.
So we're very close. I mean, -9. If I were to export this song for streaming, I'll export it at -9. But let's bring in a limiter to squeeze in just a little bit, more dB, but at the same time, not overdriving it. There are several limiters. The invisible limiter is a super guy we could use. We could also use the Fab Filter Pro L2, but let's try this guy first.
Your melody is the only thing that is ringing in my head, and I want to sing with you. Oh girl, I'm into you. I hear there's a perfect place in heaven. It's made for me.
So I'm having this problem because I'm not using my ICO, my sound card ICO. I'm using a software that I use for tutorials, and that software seems to have very little bandwidth. It cannot really carry so many things. Let's go for a ceiling of like minus 0.3. Let's listen. Let's now check where we are.
Your melody is the only thing
He's got that in my head. Funny
with you.
So we basically made the reference, but I'm so sorry about this. So I'm going to turn this quality down so that we will not have those issues.
Your melody is the only thing that is ringing in
money. He's funny
with you. Oh girl, I'm into you.
He is
There's a perfect place in heaven.
yeah. He is
Let's break the rules.
So you see, we've mastered this song, and it's already sounding like the reference. But like I said, depending on if you want to go for streaming, you come down here, you choose like Spotify or YouTube or iTunes or Tidal, and then you go back to your clipper and you turn down the volume so that you can actually have a dynamic mix that can play on the streaming services. But if you are releasing like an MP3 online, Audio Mac, just do a full mastering. If I were using my normal sound card, I would have increased this quality to something very high because it affects, when you export it, it affects the final quality. But I just want you to see that, you can actually master and sound professional, just by using plugins. Like I said, I use analog, because analog gives me more dynamism. Like, like when you listen to this reference, that analog was used. For those of you who appreciate depth of sound, that it has more depth to the mix, and that's primarily because it was most likely tracked, mixed, and mastered through some analog, maybe not fully analog, but some analog gear. And so for me, I use analog just for that, magic, that little extra magic. But that does not mean you cannot master it. So many of the songs you listen to on streaming services were mixed and mastered using just plugins. So one more time, let's hear the mix and let's compare. I'll turn off all the effects, then turn them on and we'll listen.
Your melody is the only thing that is ringing in my head, and I want
he wins them.
oh girl, I'm into you. I hear there's a perfect place in heaven. It's made for me and you. Let's break the rules. I hear them angels play a beautiful love song. It never fades away. Love song only. Baby, on this bed we're superhuman too. Love song only. I hear them angels play a beautiful love song. It never fades away. Oh baby, I'm only into you.
Smooth for the bless up.
Won't stop till my oh baby, into you. I won't stop till my feel my heartbeat.
Is Mr. Loverman, yeah. He is
There's a perfect place in heaven. It's made for me and you. Can we break the rules?
Loverman.
Play a beautiful, never fades. Love.
All right, guys. So that's how to master a song digitally with plugins. I hope you learned something. Remember that depends on the song. This might be different. If I master a different song, it might need maybe a little bit compression, more compression. Sometimes I use OTT compressor for mastering. Sometimes I use like max bass or R bass to bring out the low end. It just depends on the sound. But this is just a quick, dirty way to show you, how you can get your song to achieve that commercial mastering level. And I hope you've learned something. As usual, hit me up, send me an email at allnaijabeats@gmail.com. Follow me on Twitter at Zizoseni. Follow me on Instagram, Don Zizi. And I hope to see you next time, guys. Bye.